May I please ask for a roll call?
Supervisor Riley.
Present.
Clerk Anzaldi.
Present.
Treasurer Epikin.
Present.
Trustee Erda Thompson. Present. Trustee Jaffer. Trustee Braybeck.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Madam Supervisor, you have 6 members present.
Thank you. May I please ask for a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda with item 5.1, the proclamation for Ryan Reppert to be removed from the agenda.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The agenda is approved as modified. All right. I will go ahead and open it up for public comment. Any person may come forward at this time to address the board. Anyone who wishes to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name for the record and address. All right. This is definitely the safest place to be in town right now. You'll feel very safe. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. May I please have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on February 25, 2026.
Support.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion is passed. May I please have an approval for the next one?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes of the working session held on February 25th, 2026.
Support.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Those are approved as well. All right, we'll go ahead and open up for the second proclamation, 5.2, proclamation recognizing 2025 Department of Public Safety Officer of the Year and Firefighter of the Year. I will go ahead and ask the Director of Public Safety, Pat Gray, to come up.
Thank you so much. As you stated, each year we send out for nominations from both the police and fire department for a police officer and firefighter of the year. This is a peer-driven process, so their peers will nominate the officer and the firefighter. This year, unfortunately, the firefighter of the year, who will be honored on the 25th, John DeCaro, could not make it tonight, so we will be holding a similar proclamation ceremony for him on the 25th. But when we get these nominations, when we send out for these nominations, we do request that the officer that is being nominated, when their peers are deciding who to nominate, we ask that this be an outstanding employee, have an excellent work record, be admired by other employees, dedicated to the department goals, and present the highest level of professionalism, attitude, positive image, and that they exhibit our motto of proudly serving our community with honesty, integrity, and professional excellence. I can say that the officer who received the nominations and who is receiving the award tonight is definitely holds up all of those qualities. And so I am honored to announce that the 2025 Officer of the Year for Pittsfield Township is Derek Monaster. Derek? And so I will read the proclamation as well.
Yes, please, yes. A big accomplishment. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
So we'll just have you stand here. I'll stand near the microphone.
Yes, thank you.
A proclamation recognizing the 2025 Department of Public Safety Police Officer and Firefighter of the Year, March 11th, 2026. Whereas each January, members of the Public Safety Department may nominate a police officer and firefighter of the year from their respective group in recognition of their overall outstanding performance during the prior year, and whereas the awardee must be a peer who has demonstrated excellent service record over the past year and who is respected by his or her peers for professionalism, commitment to duty, and dedication to serving and protecting the community, while also demonstrating the highest level of respect and dignity to all persons. And whereas Police Officer Derek Monaster has been awarded the 2025 Police Officer of the Year Award for his initiative, reliability, work ethic, positive attitude, and dedication to serving the community. Officer Monaster's commitment to professional excellence has been repeatedly demonstrated through his willingness to take on new responsibilities, including assignment to the Traffic Services Bureau, Crisis Negotiation Team, and serving as a use of force instructor. Officer Monaster leads by example with a calm, confident, and courteous demeanor. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pittsfield Charter Township Board of Trustees hereby expresses its sincere appreciation to Police Officer of the Year, Derek Monaster, and Firefighter of the Year, John DeCaro, for their commitment and dedication to the service of the citizens of Pittsfield Charter Township. Congratulations.
Awesome.
This one's for you. Okay, thank you. Oh, I know. Good job. All right.
Director Gray, do you want everybody to kind of come up, take a picture, or?
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
I
why
just
don't you do
don't
that? Take
So-
what?
Do you want to do it after we do the firefighter?
Well, that's,
Or
the-
John, where's?
so John, yeah, John couldn't make it here. So there's a second portion of that proclamation that'll get read on the 25th.
Yeah, so, yeah, if everybody wants to come up here and
Yeah.
maybe just do a giant chip picture. We could probably stand up here. So we can have everybody, have all the guys up here. Courtney wants to be with the law enforcement.
She wants to show off her. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Okay, that's a lovely way to start a meeting. We should do it all the time.
Yes, I was confused.
I did forget to do public comments on it.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
All right.
so moving on. Go ahead and ask for a motion for the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda 7.1 through 7.9.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, consent agenda is motion is approved. Okay, now we are going to move on to the department reports. We have an update from Director Gray as well. The Director Gray show tonight.
Thank you. The DPS show.
Yes.
So, thank you for the opportunity to present again this year with our annual summary for 2025. The first slide is our public safety personnel. It is our staffing levels for both police, fire, and administrative support and part-time employees. We are slightly understaffed in '25, but we have been working toward staffing goals for the police department. So you'll see that we're 4 officers shy, but a little bit later on, we'll talk about some of the efforts to correct that. And we do believe we will be on track in 2026 to meet our goals. Our calls for service for 2025 have increased pretty significantly. We have had a nearly 30% increase in police runs and a 23% increase in fire runs. Just for accuracy purposes, if there is a call for service that comes into the dispatch center and they don't dispatch a police officer or a firefighter, we have removed those. Those do happen. Somebody's asking for directions or something like that. So those are not part of this. For the police department, I can say that we believe that these numbers are up for a few reasons. One is we have increased visibility, and we've really been promoting property checks, neighborhood checks, vacation courtesy checks. Traffic stops are up, and our community engagement is way higher than it used to be. So we're seeing a trend of increase, but we can kind of see where that's coming from. And generally, it's visibility and just engaging with the community. And for the next slide, we have major crimes, and I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Jason Honer to step up and address this.
Good evening. Thank you, Director.
Evening.
So our major crimes largely in 2025 stayed static versus prior years. There were a few where we saw some slight increases or decreases, but they typically fell in line with what we saw in 2023 with those specific crime types. The one that I would like to point out that we saw kind of a bigger increase than others was larcenies. We did some digging into kind of determining where that came from. Certainly a larger scale aspect could be economy-based. Another aspect that we did see is there was a couple of spikes at very specific businesses where they were seeing an increase in larceny in buildings. That definitely accounts for that increase as well. There we go.
Got it.
This next chart is just a bar graph to illustrate all those major crimes that we had on the prior slide. Regarding operating under the influence of alcohol or drugs. We did see, in terms of arrests, a decrease of 14.8%. A big chunk of the alcohol-related incidents we saw was a decrease in what's called high BAC. So those are drunk driving incidents where somebody's blood alcohol content is extremely high, and it's a different charge than a standard operating under the influence. But overall, our trend of being down 14.8% appears to align with national trends. The final numbers are not out for 2025 nationwide, but early 2025 numbers in many locations were down upwards of 13%. And I'm going to turn it back over to Director Gray.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Police Department dispatch services and response times. The chart that you're seeing here, the top bar here, average response time, is actually really reflects the performance of Metro Dispatch. So this is the number of minutes that it takes from the time they pick up the phone for a call till they actually dispatch a police officer. That time, impressively, is down approximately 2 minutes from last year. So it is a very good improvement, and we think that's due to their staffing levels. They're now at appropriate levels. Our dispatch time from that point forward, average response time, the second line, is from the time we receive the radio dispatch call till the officer arrives at the scene, and that is down over 1 minute from last year's numbers. We believe that is due to our staffing levels being a little bit higher, but then also us working on redistricting to try to spread our officers out a little bit better and make sure that we're able to respond quickly anywhere in the township. Moving on to our public security camera system. We have a policy at the police department where if we need to access one of the 6 cameras that are in public places, you can see the parks are listed, we have to pull a call for service number for transparency purposes to show, like, when we did this, there was a law enforcement purpose to do it. In 2025, we did not need to pull any recordings at all. The police department also has a process where if a particular business has a large number of what are deemed to be false alarms, a faulty alarm system that continues to trip and have officers dispatched, after 3 of those occurrences, they will start to incur some charges. There is a process to appeal those, and we did not have any appeals in 2025. Moving on to significant accomplishments in 2025. We've had some really good ones in 2025, so I'm really proud to list off some of these. Detective Kyle Erskine was named the Washtenaw 100 Officer of the Year. Sergeant Ryan Reppert, who I was hopeful would be here tonight to hear about this, was honored by the Saline Area Chamber of Commerce as the 2025 Circle of Excellence First Responder Award recipient. We had 2 sergeants complete the Eastern Michigan University Staff and Command, Sergeant Josh Howard and Mark Delapina. And we held the first Pittsfield Township Junior DPS Academy at the Multicultural Academy here on Platte Road. Roughly 20 kids went through 3 half days of training with police officers, firefighters, EMS personnel, and other first responders of kind of like a day in the life of, but also to touch the tools and learn some of the skills. So it was a really, really, really great opportunity for us to connect. And then we had several promotions in 2025. Deputy Chief Honer was officially promoted in 25. Lieutenant Sam Bradley was promoted that year. Sergeant Lamar Gassaway was promoted in 25, and so was Corporal Bob Cole. As I said, we were going to touch on some of the efforts to recruit. The sponsorship program has been extremely successful for us. We sponsored 4 officers through the academy last year. Hunter DeBar completed an academy at Washtenaw Community College, and then Saeed Ibrahim and Justice Matea and Cole Watkins completed the Wayne County Regional Academy. Unfortunately, Justice Matea determined in his first step of working in the field that police work was not for him. So he had put in a lot of time and a lot of training, but I actually give him credit and a little bit of courage it took courage to step up and say, I can't do this. So now I will turn it over to Fire Chief Chevrette.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So the calls for service in 2025, we experienced, as you can see, an increase of calls for medical runs of 707 calls from 2024 to 2025. During the year, we evaluated our response models and the types that occurred throughout the township. And through that review, I identified that our department was not responding to every call of service occurring within our jurisdiction. As a result, we adjusted our response protocols so that our units now respond to nearly every incident in the township, regardless of severity. Many of the additional responses were non-life-threatening medical incidents, but they still required evaluation and care. On the fire side, we actually saw a decline in fire-related incidents. And this reduction is likely due to the continued work of our Fire Prevention Division through our Community Risk Reduction Program, along with newer construction following the IFC 2024 standards, which improves overall building safety. This here is just a chart that represents that last slide with the calls that are increased. The department's average response time in 2025 was 8 minutes and 19 seconds. These numbers reflect all calls for service, including both emergency and non-emergency incidents. Compared to 2024, the response time increased by approximately 37 seconds. This change is largely due to the increase in the number of calls that we are now responding to during that year. At times, we also had multiple incidents that occurred in the same district simultaneously, which would require units from another district to cover those calls. That slightly increased the response times. We too had some significant accomplishments in 2025. Last year, our department was fortunate to receive 2 important grants. The first was part of the Regional Federal Assistance of Firefighter Grants, also known as AFG, which provided roughly $75,874 in funding. These funds allowed us to replace our attack nozzles, add high-rise kits to each apparatus, and upgrade our foam equipment. We also received a Firehouse Subs Foundation grant totaling $19,893, which allowed us to purchase 4 thermal imagers. This was a critical improvement because it allowed us to place a thermal imager on every piece of apparatus, improving firefighter safety and search capabilities. Another major accomplishment was completing Blue Card training at 100% participation. Blue Card is the incident command system adopted countywide, and completing this training across the entire department was a significant undertaking. I'm proud to say that Pittsfield Township helped lead the way in that effort. Our department also recognized the importance of supporting residents with autism and sensory sensitivities. We purchased Carter kits for every apparatus and additional kits for police patrol vehicles. And our members received training to better assist individuals during those emergencies. Finally, like our police department, we participated in the Multicultural Academy's first DPS Junior Academy, where we shared with students what a day in the life of a firefighter is, and the role that we play with serving in our community. Some more significant accomplishments, with the implementation of Blue Card, we identified the need to strengthen command presence, both during daily operations and emergency incidents. As a result, we piloted a shift commander position to enhance firefighter safety and operational oversight. This role ensures that an experienced and knowledgeable command officer is assigned to every shift. The shift commander is responsible for managing day-to-day operations, supporting crews, and providing command and coordination during major emergency incidents. Additionally, due to retirements within the department, we also hired 2 firefighters. We are proud to welcome David Cox Jr. and Phil Meck into the Pittsfield Township Fire Department family, and they have already begun contributing to our operations and servicing our community. At this time, I'd like to turn it back over to Director Gray for the remaining portion of our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So what wasn't on either of our slides, but it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. One of the biggest accomplishments and one of the biggest moments for the Department of Public Safety in 2025 was also that with the support of residents and this board, we did secure a new public safety millage for the next 10 years. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And then, of course, not spoiling the surprise, but you will see Fire Marshal John DeCaro here on the 25th with a big smile to receive the same award that Derek Monaster just received, with just a little photo of them together. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions
I do have a couple of
or
questions.
comments even, whatever you want to say? Yep,
Yeah,
Liz.
thank you. So let me pull up my notes here. First of all, I love this process. I love the transparency of data. But one of the things that stood out to me when I was reviewing it, and you guys did mention this, but when I looked at the number of calls and it going up 29%, a little bit, almost 30%, but then on the next slide, the subsequent slides, it looks like major crime is flat or trending down in a lot of areas. Could you double click on that a little bit more for us?
Absolutely.
Help us understand that.
And I'll try to explain it a little bit more clearly. So that the non-emergency service calls that we are going on are up. And then our proactive work to be visible in the community, that's up too. And if an officer rolls into, say, an apartment complex, and they're going to actively ride through or walk through this apartment complex, we have instructed them, it's part of policy, you will pull a call for service number because you are actively doing something. This isn't just driving around, right? So every traffic stop they make, it pulls a call for service number. Every time they do a property check, it pulls a call for service number. Or they go on a non-emergency call that's going to pull another number that shows that 30% increase. What it's kind of showing you is that on the ratio of calls for service, our violent crimes are actually really down. If you look at it as a ratio of how many calls we had versus how many major crimes we had, it's down. But a lot of that is just proactive policing.
And is that proactive policing, is that a shift of how we're reporting from previous years? Or I'm still just trying to wrap my brain around that 30% increase.
Portions of it are that. Portions of it are a shift in reporting, but a large portion of it is an initiative within the department. Our supervisors are driving this more, where they're instructing officers where I want you to go. We've had this trend in this particular neighborhood or this particular issue. We're now instructing them to do special service drive-throughs or special details or selective enforcement in this particular area. And then they were instructed to pull a number so that we can actually keep track of the fact that we did do this, how often we did it, and how many minutes we did it for.
Okay. And then my second question was actually both on the police and fire response times. To me, I mean, this isn't my area of expertise, but when I see those times, those look outstanding to me.
They're actually they are quite good. If I can brag a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm pleased to, because I'd like to have some contextualization of those numbers, because when I talk to, friends that are in other municipal government entities in Wayne County and whatnot, they're not seeing numbers like this, so I just don't even know what averages are, but to me, these seem like outstanding numbers, and we should, be holding this up for our constituents and for our residents here.
Promote that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I don't know if you have data on what averages are for townships like ours, rural densities, et cetera.
I can say that when we pulled numbers for the millage, I believe the fire response times were 8 minutes.
The national average or the thought
Was 8 minutes.
Okay.
And I think for police it was 5.
Okay.
So we're definitely above average and below average response times.
Thank you, those are my questions. Thank you.
I'd like to say that I actually this last week, the last couple weeks, I had given some presentations, one at the Slane Chamber and a company, New to You, resale over in Carpenter, outwardly in front of everyone after I finished the presentation, said they had to call the police on a couple different occasions for some incidents, and that the response and the professionalism were wonderful. So that was a very nice shout out. Another resident who had previously said they had bad experiences with the police have said that things have really changed. And then there was one more, what the other comment was, that I was at the ribbon cutting for Haver Hill on Clark, which is our new affordable housing, and they had made comments about how good the response was when they needed to call. So
Positive.
That's the last 2 weeks of what I've heard, so I want to make sure that gets shouted out as well.
Thank you.
Any more comments or questions for our public safety? We have
Thank you,
everyone here.
everybody here, and thank you to your teams for keeping us safe and all of our residents safe. I appreciate your hard work and your diligence and your service to our entire community.
Thank you for your support, too.
And, I know we've talked about this before, too. They've also been very inconvenienced during the construction of the building next door. And they will continue to be inconvenienced, as we're hoping in the next month or so, they move into the new part and the old part. And so thank you for keeping everything up while all that's going on. And hopefully, in the end, it all is worth it.
Yes, I'm sure it will be, yes.
Thank you for your flexibility as well.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right.
He actually had the presentation.
Oh, that's right,
in-
yes,
in-
never mind. I have to ask my clerk for those things and the details, she's so good. Okay, if we move on to new business, can we get a motion for 9.1?
Madam Chair, I move to, well, we haven't,
Oh.
normally what happens on these,
Thank you.
Madam Supervisor, is we turn it over to the treasurer to
Yep.
give their report, and then we do a receive and file at the back of theirs.
Thank you.
So,
I'm turning it over to our treasurer
Treasurer
applicant
applicant.
for to go over 9.1 with us. Thank you.
All right, so, good evening, everybody. Pursuant to Public Act 20, this is a Treasurer's Quarterly Summary of surplus of fund investments for Q3 and Q4 2025, or Treasurer's Report. 2025 winter tax season began December 1st and is proceeding according to statutory deadlines. Disbursements from the summer 2025 collections have been fully completed, and allocations made to general fund, public safety, parks and recreation, and other voter-approved millages. During this period, the Treasurer's Office transitioned from traditional bank sweep arrangements to ICS insured cash sweep accounts. This structure expands FDIC coverage across multiple participating banks while maintaining daily liquidity and reducing concentration of risk for large public balances such as ours. In September 2025, the Township also received approximately $13 million in bond proceeds associated with the 2025 Capital Improvement Bonds Construction Fund for Public Safety and Utilities, which are being managed in accordance with the Township's investment policy and approved capital financing plan. Overall, the Township continues to maintain a diversified and secure portfolio of CDRs, deposits, ICS sweep accounts, operating accounts, collateralized deposits, guided by the priorities of safety, liquidity, and in compliance, of course, with Public Act 20. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions?
Madam Supervisor, this is just a clerical
Yes, please.
issue. Treasurer, will you be speaking, are you speaking about these separately, or is that?
Third quarter and fourth quarter?
Because when I do a receive and file, I just want to know, like, how to call the motion.
Q3 and Q4.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
That's it, very good, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Questions, discussion? All right.
Thank you, Treasurer Applicant.
All right, motion.
Then I will move to receive and file the quarterly cash balance reports for the third quarter 2025 and for fourth quarter 2025.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, received and filed. May I please have a motion for 9.3?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the emergency repair of Fire Engine 2 by Cummings Sales and Service for a cost not to exceed $11,000.
Second.
Okay, discussion. We do obviously have our fire chief here. Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I know I asked this, so please forgive me. The quote, the estimate is different than the $11,000, and what,
Not to exceed $11,000.
yeah, not to exceed.
That's just a little buffer in case they find something during the repairs.
Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Happens to my car every time.
Yeah, right.
Stay on top of that. I know, you never know.
Come in with a flat tire and you leave with a muffler.
Okay. If there's no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, may I please ask for a motion for 9.4?
Madam Chair, I move to authorize the supervisor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Brinks Incorporated and Harper Electric Incorporated for the installation of a fire alerting system and related project hardware as part of the Public Safety Facility Improvement Project at a total cost not to exceed $86,150, subject to Township Attorney approval.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. May I please ask for a motion for 9.5?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt a resolution of intent to establish a corridor improvement authority and set a public hearing date, Resolution 26-05.
Second.
Okay. We do have our CIP and Economic Development Administrator, Craig Lyon, here. I know that I was not here at the last meeting. I was up at the State of the State, and I think there were a couple more people who weren't here. So I would then ask Mr. Lyon to come up and just give a little brief overview of what this intent means before we vote on it.
Sure. Good evening, Board. So what is in front of you this evening, as was indicated, the resolution of intent. What this allows the community to do is to move forward with a public notice that also is provided to other taxing jurisdictions in the area to let them know that we are entertaining the option for a corridor improvement authority. This corridor improvement authority is specifically for the State Street corridor. Purpose of it is to be able to perform the necessary infrastructure improvements, to be able to control traffic congestion, mitigation, and other necessary public improvements throughout that corridor. The notice of intent does nothing other than provide this option for essentially discovery, and allow us to be able to move forward and begin collecting all the necessary information to be able to come back to you to provide a 3.5-hour presentation. No, it won't be that long. But be able to provide necessary cost estimates, scope of project, all the necessary nuts and bolts that would be accounted for in an overall development plan, should one be adopted in the future, to be able to ensure that these funds are allocated appropriately and get the necessary improvements performed.
Excellent.
Okay, do you have any questions or want elaboration on anything?
I don't have any questions. I do have a comment that, I understand the way that the statute is written and how this timeline of events go on. But for me, it's kind of hard sometimes to think about, we're going to think about this really big project that we're going to do, but we don't know how much we're going to spend. We don't know what the timeline is. We don't have all these things before we have to actually have a hearing on an intent to establish. Like, it's really awkward because we're saying, oh, we want to do this really big project, but we don't know what the project is, but we need to let the public know that we have this intent to do it, but we don't have any of these numbers. So sometimes it feels a little weird and unnatural. So even though I don't know how I actually sit on this issue, I will be voting yes on this resolution because we have already worked on getting the assessment going. Is that correct, Craig, or not?
Public hearing notice?
No, did we do an assessment?
Yes, the environmental assessment for
So there was
the
an
corridor.
environmental assessment done. We've updated, so we did that, we voted on that about a year ago to have it updated. That'll be completed probably the next, month or so, I think is when it's planned. And that's what the Road Commission will use to be able to apply for the federal funding to expand the road. What this is doing is giving us a pot of money to be able to do pathways and lighting and the accessories to kind of go with it. And it's true, we don't really know what those will be on the cross-sections, but they usually require cross-sections when they are submitting for funding. So there's certain things that the township has to give in with it. But the thing is, at the end, the State Street corridor there is not just, it's in Pittsfield Township, but it's such a regional type of thing. That's why we do have the support of Commissioner Sanders and some of the commissioners that we obviously presenting to them as well, because it's between where that whole area on State Road and the other side of 94 is where Briarwood Mall and everything is kind of expanding. That's going to come over to our road. We're going to have a lot of congestion coming in. We need to make sure that we're getting ahead of it. And because we don't just want it to be, just one street without us having to be able to put in the proper things to make it really a nice corridor that's going to be something sustainable and good for businesses and people to live in, with pathways and lighting and that sort of thing.
I just wanted to make a comment of clarification for the notice of intent. I know, yes, it does sometimes seem awkward, but it is the start of a statutory timeline for public hearings, disclosures. Basically, it's non-optional, and in a sequence like this, this is how it's supposed to start, and it also it also typically provides us legal protection down the road, just in case, any steps are missed or skipped.
Yeah, and really, at any point, again, like you say, this can, things,
Absolutely.
it can be stopped. And even if we go down a road and we decide that at some point, we're not capturing enough, this was an authority, or a CIA, years ago, that when the economy crashed, it was disestablished. We're looking to establish again, keep it longer, and catch some of that growth that is planned to be coming down that road.
Correct.
Whether we like it or not.
If it wasn't that the process was so lengthy, then it would allow us to be able to provide some additional answers to the questions such as how much is the road improvement actually going to cost? Once we get that information back from the consultant, which will be stated in the environmental assessment, then that will go to our engineering consultants to provide the actual estimate for the recommended cross-section. And then at that time, we'll be able to have a rough estimate as to what that road project would cost. From that point forward, then we're going to get the road commission involved and see what kind of timing we're looking at for federal funding projections and things of that nature. So what all that means if we were to wait, because the CIA does have a TIF component, tax increment financing component to it, where the TIF is actually able to capture the incremental increase in value of tax revenue. The longer we wait, the less funds we collect, which is less likely than being able to allow us to do these road improvements. So timing is of the essence. I wish that we did have 100% estimates. I wish I had them at this time. I'm more than happy to ballpark them, but I really don't want to do that because they are some large numbers. But this is about a 9-month process. And as the treasurer mentioned, we are regulated by the act. There is certain notification timeframes that we have to provide, in essence, for example, no shorter than 20 days, no longer than 40 days. Public notices have to be out for 60 days. I mean, there's a number of different factors that come into play that extend this out, which make it that much more important to be able to try and keep things moving.
But yeah, I would ask that as we go along, as we get numbers and things, that we do make sure we communicate. So
Absolutely.
Because that is, yes.
So, just to add on to my comments, like I said, I don't know if I'm in favor or not. I'm curious enough to want it to go forward to the intent phase and try to find out what these numbers are and how this will all work out. But I think this is like a really horrible statute timeline that is driven not by us, and it's not anything that Director Lyon is doing or Administrator Lyon is doing. It's statutory, so I understand, like, there's all kinds of things in the law that are, like, awkwardly written. But, and like I said, I am curious enough to want to know what the numbers are, what the timeline is, and whether, I might not think that we need 5 lanes, but, it is up to the board to decide and make those decisions and to understand where our priorities lie and what we want to invest in and where we're going to throw around money. But I do have a tendency to think, though, that this is still going to cost the township a lot, and there are going to be a lot of residents who are going to be paying for this corridor. Now, we need to make each and every part of our township beautiful, welcoming, interesting, vibrant. All of those things are necessary. The whole package of the township type thing is necessary. But I don't know whether I want to throw it on that corridor or not. But
That's why I'm thinking that, right, that
but I'm
yeah.
but I'm interested in trying to see what the numbers are and how that all works. But I think it is going to be really expensive. I think it's going to be a lot more expensive than
And that's why I think
we
that
can
the
imagine.
Washtenaw County helping to chip in would be nice.
Yeah, and then I also worry about like getting grants from the federal government because we all know how that works out sometimes. It's not always a guarantee, even if they say, hey, you're getting the money, and then at the last minute, poof, then you don't get the money, and you're like, oof, scrambling for that.
Yep.
So that's just my 2 cents, so thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Any more questions or conversation about this before we vote?
I would just like to
Yes, please.
add, Dr. Lyons, when you were joking about the 3-hour meeting, I just want to personally say thank you for the investment of time when you and I sat and talked about this for a couple of hours. And you really got me oriented, some of the data, some of the money behind us, and kind of the construct of the process. So I just want to say thank you for that. But also and this is going to be an ongoing conversation around this board, right? And Michelle, I really appreciate what you said about we have to be really thoughtful about the investments we make, because the investments like this aren't just for growth. They're also about defending, when I say defending, commercial tax revenue. I've talked to several businesses that are along that State Street corridor that are frustrated with the current traffic bottlenecks and things of that nature, to the point where they don't know if they're going to be renewing leases and things of that nature. And if those businesses leave, it costs our residents more money as well if we're not able to protect that tax revenue as well. So I'm excited to vote on this because it doesn't commit us to doing the project, but it starts the process for us to have the discovery, to have these conversations so we can look at our scarcity model and think about where we want to put these investments. So I just wanted to say thank you for your time, and I'm excited to move this process along so we continue this conversation.
And thank you for your time meeting. And just that goes out to anyone else on the board too who would like to take more time with any of the staff on any of the things that are on the agenda. Please, it's an open dialogue at all the time. If you need more background before we get here, please do that. All right, then I will go ahead and ask for a roll call.
Supervisor Riley?
Yes.
Clerk Anzaldi?
Yes.
Treasurer Eppican?
Yes.
Trustee Erda Thompson?
Yes.
Trustee Braybeck?
Yes.
Trustee Mills?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas.
Thank you. Motion passes, and I will ask for a motion for 9.6.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt a resolution to approve an application to the Michigan Township Participating Plan Risk Reduction Grant Program, Resolution 26-06.
Second.
Okay, again, we do have our public safety here, if anyone has any question on this one. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It just gives us the ability to apply for more money, which you guys are doing a really good job at, and I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. All right, roll call?
Clerk Anzaldi?
Yes.
Treasurer Eppican?
Yes.
Trustee Erda Thompson?
Yes.
Trustee Braybeck?
Yes.
Trustee Mills?
Yes.
Supervisor Riley?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right, I will move on for liaison and trustee reports. Does anyone have a report to give? Oh,
Not at
okay.
this time.
All right, I do have a couple things I just want to kind of go over. I did mention earlier that last week, they'd had the ribbon cutting for the affordable housing, which is the Haverhill and Clark. Both Representative Wilson, Commissioner Sanders, Representative Foreman, Mishta was there. It's 295 units, which is affordable housing. That is an amazing accomplishment here. There might be some more that come in, so stay tuned. But it was very good to see. They have 91% occupancy rate and have turned away people because they make too much money. But other than that, it's a really nice facility. So if you have a chance to go out there and look at it, it's really nice. Also, we've had a lot of residents reaching out about the heavy traffic on Michigan Avenue, the trucks and all of that. And just, again, we have been in contact with Michigan State Police, with MDOT. Commissioner Sanders is calling a meeting. We're working on a time for that so that residents can come out and ask questions. A representative from the data center might be there, as well as Michigan State Police. We're trying to get MDOT out. Right now it's tentatively for 6 o'clock on March 30th at the LRC, but we're trying to make sure we can get all the people there to answer questions. So it's being addressed as best we can with limited control that we have over it. I don't think we've officially said, I know that everybody knows that we had lost some funding, as Clerk Anzaldi talked about, the $2.5 million in federal funding for the building next door. But we did, I don't think we've said it in this forum, receive, or at least signed into law, hopefully we receive without any issues, $2 million. And we just wanted to make sure we publicly thank Congresswoman Dingell and Senator Slotkin for really fighting to get that back, not just for us, but for others in the community. I believe that Saline City got their $2.7 million back for the rec center as well, which is actually located in Pittsfield Township, and a good partnership there. So just want to make sure we publicly thank them as well. Wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we are making that whole transition with the rubbish, and the bins are going to be delivered next week from Stevens. You're going to hang on to those, all the residents will. And then the following week will be the pickup for the old bins. So unfortunately, there'll be a week where residents will have the 2 bins at one time. But we're looking forward to having that new service starting in play, and I think it's going to be a good relationship. It's a little bit of transition. It's always change is always rough, but we'll get there. Also wanted to thank everyone for all the work that we did on the fire suppression system, and be back in this room today is very nice to have our facility back. Special thanks to our IT department, our building department, our fire department, and every employee that was, again, put out while we did all of this. It was worth it, and we're all back up and running again. I think. Oh, and just to let you know that we are actually, Deputy Almacher has been working on our next submission for funding. So now that we just got that signed into law, we're back busy asking our state and federal representatives to give us more money. So we're on that, and we're making our rounds, and so we're happy to do that as well. All right. At that point, I will go ahead and wrap it up and open it up for public comment too. And I do want to make sure that I missed this the first time around. We did have 2 submissions that you all should have gotten that were sent in online. I do want to address both of those and then open it up if anybody else wants to speak as well. But the ones that we received, the first one about the road near Carpenter and the sidewalks. Just want to speak to that real quick, is that there's a dirt road over by Carpenter, and the person who had the public comment was asking to have it paved. And over the years, it has been looked at, and it's about $1 million a mile to pave an unpaved road. So that's obviously a big investment. The road commission also is hesitant to pave any new roads since they're not taking on everything else coming in is now private roads. That being said, that particular area is near Carpenter Elementary, and the Ann Arbor Public Schools is using their millage money to update different schools, and Carpenter Elementary is one of those schools on that list. So I believe it's 27, 28, so that we are in discussions with them to see what we can do in that area. And so, because I do want their buses to be able to be on pavement and not any just dirt road. As far as the sidewalks go, there was a survey done back in 2010, 2011 with a Safe Routes to Schools grant. At the time, that neighborhood was not in favor of having sidewalks there. That being said, things have turned over, right? It's a whole other neighborhood, whole other group of things. So we will contact this resident to work with them and see what kind of needs. There are possibilities for looking for grants again. There are possibilities for doing SADs in that area. But of course, it would take funding, and we'd also need to make sure that neighborhood actually does want that. We would need to probably do petitions and make sure we had majority of favor. So addressing that one. And then the other one was asking about a road study to be done over at Textile and Lore Road. We already have a request in to do Textile West, or Textile on the west side. So we are going to expand it to go to the east side to accommodate that comment as well. So it's a long conversation or a long thing to address what was in, but we are addressing what the 2 comments were that came in. And at this point, I will open up for anybody here who'd like to come up forward and state their name if they would like to, or their address, and speak to us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
We can.
All right. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak, and thank you all for your service. My name is Marula Dallas, and I've been a homeowner in this township for the past 7.5 years. I've never been to a meeting before, but the safety situation on Michigan Avenue that is parallel to Harwood Farms has reached a point where I need to speak up. This area starts well before the intersection at Campbell Road and ends slightly after the intersection at Warner Road. According to the latest available data on Michigan traffic crash facts, which I understand MDOT uses to analyze crash trends, there were 13 accidents along that stretch in 2024 alone. And just last month, another serious crash occurred, one where a vehicle actually flipped over. Incidents like these aren't just statistics, they are warning signs. Traffic in this area has also increased significantly in the past year, as you all discussed a few moments ago. Larger vehicles require much more distance to slow down and stop, which makes the curve, the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit, and traffic conditions more concerning. Given the crash history and the increase in traffic, this area would benefit from a formal traffic safety study to evaluate whether current roadway conditions still match present patterns. I understand that these reviews, which are conducted by state police, but the request needs to go through MDOT, usually explore potential safety improvements such as speed management, signal adjustments, signage, or other design solutions. A reasonable next step would be for the township to formally request that MDOT conduct a study for the highway stretch parallel to Harwood Farms to include the intersections at Warner Road and Campbell Road. Taking a proactive step now could help prevent a more serious incident in the future. Thank you for your time, and I would appreciate any update the township can provide about possible next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have your contact information and a sign-in sheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we will follow up on that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you all.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being the first time. Yes.
Christina Laronis, 151 East Textile Road, and I would echo what the previous speaker said. That area definitely needs to be looked at. The intersection of Campbell and Michigan Ave in particular is extremely dangerous, and if there's any way that a traffic signal could be put in there, that would be extremely helpful. I was so careful about looking at where the meeting was every time, and tonight I went to the wrong building for the first time. I was doing such a good job. So I missed the first public comment, but I don't think it mattered because I think it wouldn't have changed anything. I'm ardently opposed to this concept of the Corridor Improvement Authority on State Road. I can't describe to you how opposed I am to this. This was tried before. It was a miserable failure. It was very little money was collected, and yet we spent a ton of money. Publications, notifications, signs put up in public places, just all of the paperwork and the legal work and the consultants that we paid. We paid and paid and paid and paid and paid and collected a few bucks. And I was opposed to that throughout the entire process because I do not believe in tax increment finance authorities, period. I don't know of one that's been a good idea. And in the end, that one failed, and I don't exactly remember the reasons why it was ultimately decided to dissolve it. It had gone through the whole creation process, but I do remember the lawyer noting that while there's a creation process, there really isn't a direction on how to dissolve these things. So we ultimately ended up, I say we, the township, ultimately ended up giving the money back to the taxing authorities that had opted in, except, of course, Pittsfield lost everything that it had put in. I mean, it just went back to, I suppose, our general fund, but the township spent all the money, the taxpayers of the township spent all the money on the lawyers, the consultants, the meetings for the wealthy business owners that formed the members of this Corridor Improvement Authority, who would come and complain about how icky the road was, but yet would not pony up their own money in a special assessment district. And I remember very well the gentleman who owned what's now called Real Truck, it was called Truck Hero at the time, coming in very happy one day because he had sold his business. While he was one of the biggest complainers about the state of the road, He had sold his business for over $1 billion, and he was absolutely delighted. That gentleman wants the taxpayers of Pittsfield Township to put its own money in so that he can profit. And that's exactly what's going to happen here now. The areas that look to be developed in a large way would be the Avis Farm South area. That's probably the biggest area that's got a big project planned on it. Rather than doing a special assessment district like they should and like every other business has done, and in fact, the homeowners, the residents of Ashford Village, Hickory Point, for example, paid through special assessment on each of their every homes to pave Crane Road and what's the next? Munger Road, Crane and Munger Road. So it's a slap in the face to all the people who have paid special assessments to improve the roads that need to be improved when development goes in. It draws money off of voted millages that we all voted for and we all pay and we expect to be used for what they're voted for. And there is an opportunity to opt out for a number of the entities. The schools, I believe, can opt out. The libraries can opt out. WCC can opt out. Washington Metro Parks can opt out. I don't know where that came from. Thank you. Can opt out. And I made it my mission to go to each and every one of those entities and explain to them in case they didn't know, but fortunately they already knew what a bad idea this was, and most of them opted out. The AADL did not opt out because they have such a tiny part of this particular corridor, so they felt it wasn't going to affect them. Why not do a special assessment district? Maybe we could make Ann Arbor Airport pay with a special assessment district. And it's just, I found, if you Google, TIFA and opt out, you will find many writings on why, the long and short of it is, when a community votes a millage into effect for their local library, for example, TIFA diversions in that community take taxes off the top of the library millage, and that money does not go to the purpose it was originally voted to support. And that's also true. We will be taking from our public safety, who we all were told we had to vote more money for. It just was a dire situation. And our parks in Pittsfield Township, they're all going to be contributing their tax increment increase. I'm very disappointed to see this happening again, and I hope that it will be stopped, and I hope that the sunk money that we're wasting on the various notifications don't prohibit us from stopping as soon as possible and finding another way of funding this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll open it up for board response. Okay, if there's none, I will go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting is adjourned at 7:28. Thank you all.